Rejoice, TRiDENT fans and other fans of great rock music everywhere, because today we're going to be talking about the announcement that came out at TRiDENT's recent Continue show that I was lucky enough to be in attendance at, despite the fact that the tickets sold out. Just about managed to get into that one. We're going to be talking about all the announcements that came out there because there were so many of them, and we're going to be talking about hopefully what this means for the future, a lot of things, but this video is going to be done I think in a few sections. At the end of the video, we're really going to be breaking down all of the announcements and what they individually mean. But I thought, first of all, I would just talk you through the whole story of what actually happened when I attended the show, just so you can get kind of a feel for the whole atmosphere building up to this. Because boy, oh boy, did they make this announcement count. And one of the main reasons I was able to attend this show was luckily through the help and support of the TRiDENT Discord community, which if my brain is working properly, I've linked it down below. If you do Discord and you want to be involved in the TRiDENT community, please follow that link down below and come enjoy that, because it's just a great place to talk about the band and catch up on all these announcements. But yeah, those guys really helped me get into this show because, as I say, it can be a bit difficult, as you might have noticed, to get tickets for TRiDENT shows, even if, like me, you are in Japan. Sometimes the E+ system that does a lot of the ticket stuff is just not very accessible for people who are not like permanent 100% residents. So, you know, it took a lot of effort to get in, but thanks to them and a lot of talks to the management via email, we managed to get into the show, and I am so glad. I am so glad that we got into this show. So let's talk about why there was so much excitement around this show, all the build up, and then eventually we will get to talking about these announcements in a little bit more detail. Because on the TRiDENT social media, I'm going to be looking at Twitter specifically here. They've been posting these little cartoons, which had been, we later found out, drawn by Osaka, which were just sort of talking about the trials and tribulations, everything that the band had been through, talking about various times in their past when they had to make decisions, when they had to think about who are we marketing to? Are we marketing towards like younger people, older people? How are we going to celebrate each of our anniversaries? You know, the various things like, you know, going through the whole COVID-19 pandemic, which was obviously what they had they'd really sort of prepared their first show at that time and had to cancel their first ever show as TRiDENT. And obviously this was right after they had Nagisa join the band. And so this was something where there was so much pressure on this band from day one. And knowing how they formed and everything, you know, a lot of people know that this is a band who've got a very tight bond. There's a tight connection between these three because they've kind of been, you know, like any of the best groups of friends, they've been tested by a lot of trials and tribulations. They've been there, they've been back, so to speak. And this was the last one they put out before the show. This was the last of this series of cartoons they put out before the shows that had everyone thinking, what is this Continue show? There's got to be an announcement. There's got to be something going on. They've named this one-off gig Continue, the name of their first single as TRiDENT. This is not part of a tour. They got nothing announced after this. It's just their whole career is this long journey leading up to this one show. What's it going to be? And as mentioned, when you keep on showing cartoons, showing your trials and tribulations, and then finish it off with this last one, which is basically the three of them talking about how much they've been through and how they're going to continue to be TRiDENT. A lot of people were thinking, is this their farewell? Is this them saying goodbye? And so I was thinking leading into this, it's going to be one of two things. It's either going to be a farewell concert and they're going to say, hey, we're breaking up for whatever reason, or it's going to be something where they're going to be announcing, yeah, maybe a new album. They were talking a lot about, in these cartoons, they were talking a lot about decisions, showing their managers and everything. And I was thinking, I wonder if there's going to be some sort of change of management. And I floated that idea on the TRiDENT Discord. And well, not a change of management, but it turned out that I kind of was getting close to the truth. But boy, oh boy, were there a lot of announcements. So anyway, like I say, I managed to get the tickets after contacting TRiDENT directly, explaining the situation, showing them screenshots of all the things, all the difficulties I was having with the E+ website and everything. And it was after this had already been posted saying it sold out, they got back to me and they said, okay, we got some tickets. So I think they must have received my email before that, but still, they allowed me to see that screen saying it's sold out. And I was thinking, oh no, I'm not going to get in. They haven't replied to my email. And then I got the email said, don't worry, we got you in. So I thought, I'm definitely going to go along to this. And I'd been to 3 TRiDENT shows previously. got to be honest, as anyone who knows me knows, I'm not exactly rolling in money, and I would love to see TRiDENT at every single show, but sometimes it can be difficult for me to afford to go to regular shows. And so, I've only seen them 3 times before, but I was definitely going to see them this time. And the last time I saw them, they were doing those greeting tickets where you could go and, have a quick picture taken with the band. And my friend who I was with had managed to buy one of those, but I hadn't, and I regretted that very much, that I couldn't afford that. So as this time I'm like, not only am I going to go to this show, but I'm also going to get my photo taken with the band. Whatever the announcement is, if they're breaking up, if they're continuing on, I'm going to get my photo taken with them. So that was what my mindset was going into this. I turned up quite early to the venue when the merch lines opened. This was actually before people were going in, but there was people. So I've been to TRiDENT shows before. I've never seen that many people queued up as there were for the merch line. And there was this palpable feeling that people were queuing up as though, what if this is the last time? What if this is the last time we can buy TRiDENT merch? What if this is the last time we can get greeting tickets? And you could kind of feel this. There were people in the line talking in Japanese about, what do you think they're going to announce? And there was definitely, everything they'd done to build up a sense of tension was 100% paying off. It was a lot of kind of somewhere between excitement and a little bit of trepidation as we all bought our merch, and then there was a few hours left between that and the show, so then I went out and got some food, had a little bit of a wander around, came back, and when I came back for the show, as I say, we got to the front. You got these big signs saying sold out, telling everyone where to queue and get ready for this. Then, you got all people going in one at a time by their number. My ticket had been reserved at the desk, so I kind of went in after everyone else. As I went down as well, you could see they had they had the usual thing with the flowers from the various people supporting them in the little stairway going down. This one was from Gibson, so you can actually see the Gibson Japan, who obviously Asaka has done so much good brand work for, did manage to remember to send flowers to this important occasion. And yeah, it's just everything, like I say, everyone was kind of hyped up, kind of prepared, kind of ready for, well, whatever happens is what happens. Now, before I actually talk about the gig, I will just quickly show the merch I got. So I got some things for other people in the community, in the Discord community, but for myself, first of all, as anyone knows, I had originally got the blue band. I also got the pink and yellow one to complete the 3 set. And I saw people coming up because you usually get the merch thing where you got like a little lottery wheel that you can do as well. And you get a random piece of merch from a little select side table of things. And I saw a lot of people coming up with what looked like a white wristband. And I thought, well, do you know what? I'll tell you what, I'll buy the pink and the yellow one so I can complete the set, and then I'll see if I can, do the lottery a few times and see if I can get the white one. And when I did eventually get the white one, it turns out that the white one wasn't a wristband, it was tape. Now, I'm not sure if I'm ever going to use this tape. I might feel too bad. I might just wrap it around some of these picture frames here. That's entirely possible. But I got that. I got the little tote bag, which I got to be honest, I'm very glad with. I'm not sure if I'm going to use it too much because I don't want to damage it, but it's a nice thing to just put stuff in around the house. And I got the little clear file as well because, it's Japan. What Japanese fan of Japanese music would you be if you didn't have a clear file? I can see it's already damaged. Oh no. Sadness. There's a little dent in the top. This video is now going to be very depressing now I've found that out. Sad times all around. But let's keep the bag safe. Anyway, so, you can tell how much I want to keep that stuff safe because I still haven't unpacked the other 2 wristbands. I was like, just keep it all safe. But I've got to wear them. Remember, guys, if you buy merch, you've got to use it. Buying merch and not using it is a terrible idea. Kind of what you want to do in your heart, but you've got to use this merch. You've got to use it. Otherwise, it's just sitting around doing nothing. So maybe I'm gonna unpack them now. I'm gonna unpack them whilst I'm doing this video, and I'm gonna put on the other wristbands as well. And if they break, I'm just gonna cry. Anyway, so we went into the show. I'm actually going to be beaten by a piece of plastic on a video. There we go. We went into the show, and the venue in question, I always forget the name of it. It's really complicated. It's one of those names. It's really hard to say. But it's kind of near to Shibuya. And we went into that venue, and I'll be honest with you, it's not the biggest live house ever. It's kind of like the same size as O East, Shibuya O East, or probably a little bit bigger than Eggman, I think. Yeah, a bit bigger than Eggman. And it's all very well and good, but it did feel like it was overcrowded, basically, because you have the bars at the back and then some steps going down, just maybe 2 or 3 steps going down to the main performance area. And when I got in there, like I said, at the back of everyone, you could just see the crowd was filling that entire space, and then actually into the bar, and there were people standing up on those steps in the bar area looking down. And it was a case of, are we going to actually get into this show? Is anyone going to be able to actually get into the performance area and see them, or are there going to be people standing at the bar throughout the entire thing? So the kind of hope was that everyone would compress forwards when the gig started and we could all move forwards then. And, you know, I met some lovely people there, met some people from overseas, met a few people, we chatted. But as the music started, and as you could hear the build-up music happening, yes, everyone started to move forwards, as I hoped. I followed a couple other people, sort of moved into the front. And then by the time the music was actually going, I was probably like 3 or 4 from the front, really in there. And boy, oh boy, just like with every TRiDENT show, the energy was crazy, very intense, lots of people dancing around. Yeah, everyone's squished up against each other. If you've ever been to one of these shows and like me, you're a little bit taller than average, you end up with a situation where you kind of want to raise your arms up, but every time you raise your arm up, it's like unfolding like a huge, you're like, it's like, this is not going to work. And then and then other people's arms are under your arm, and it's like, no, I can't move my arm back down. So as a general, I spent most of the gig like that, which was fun for me. I had fun. It's fine. I was a bit sweaty, but I had fun. And it ended up being like just a really great atmosphere, a great time. The whole thing was enjoyable. We did have the usual thing. I think the only thing that really I'm not a big fan of is like, you get some crowd surfers who are up there who are just really cool, like they're holding up banners or they're just having fun. But then you get some of those crowd surfers who just sort of limp over the crowd and just start kicking everyone in the face. And, you know, I don't really want a stranger's butt in my face, you know. That's not my idea of a wild, fun time. But luckily, there was not too many crowd surfers. There was just about the right number. And as I mentioned, there were a couple of fun ones. There was one guy who, massive respect, as the band came on stage, he got his friends to hold him up, and he just had like a big banner which was saying like, I love Osaka, or something like that. It was a message to Osaka, and he was just up on top of his friends just holding it, which I thought was brilliant. When it came to the show though, the show was, well, I mean, it was as great as it always is musically. They were fantastic. And the one thing I've always said is that TRiDENT shows, even more so than most bands, I think the entire show is probably an hour and a half, including the announcement, which we'll talk about in a minute. But TRiDENT shows really fly by. I mean, like, they really feel like they go quickly. I think it's a mixture of how fast the songs are, how unique each one is, how memorable they are. I think it's because, like, there's never, like, downtime. There's never a single song where you go, oh, this one's all right. It's like, they're all of them. I think, you know, a bit of bias here. Obviously, I'm a massive fan of the band. But, you know, like every single song you're thinking, wow, yes, this one, I love this one. And then it's just, you're constantly 100% hooked. And with the songs going so quickly and so much energy, the gigs really fly by. So it felt, as they started to like make teary-eyed announcements and talk about their past and kind of thank each other, which they started doing on stage, it was like, wow, I feel like we're only half an hour in. And then I quickly caught a glimpse of my phone. It's like, wow, we're over an hour in. It's like, oh my God. It's like we started to gear towards the last part of the gig. And yeah, like I say, they started like thanking each other. It started with Osaka was talking, and she was very good composure. And she started talking about like the three of them and, you know, the history of the band. And then Serena convinced Nagisa to start talking. And Nagisa at first, very funny, very sort of chirpy. But then she started to tear up. And she was thanking, you know, the other two, thanking Serena and Osaka. And you could just see she was starting to tear up. And then, you know, the tears started to roll down her face. And the interesting thing is that, and I always said this, I got a lot of respect for like Japanese crowds. One of the things I love about being here is that the audiences are great. You know, they only sing in the parts of the song where you're supposed to sing. They only clap in the parts of the song where you're supposed to clap. They only shout in the parts where it makes sense to shout. It's not just like, as I always felt with Western crowds, there's always this thing where people are just always making noise and always singing with every bit they know and always just, it's like you almost can't hear the show over the other people around you. But like a Japanese show, especially, it's noticeable at one so high energy. It's like a TRiDENT show. It's just beautiful how everyone seems to just kind of have fun with it, and everyone's having a good time. And when it comes to those moments, everyone does just genuinely have a little moment of quiet where they let the moment take place. And yeah, when Nagisa started crying, just everyone in the audience was quiet and just sort of listened to her, and she sort of talked slowly and got through her words, and she thanked the other two. And then it went back to Asaka, and then Asaka started crying a little bit. And of course, they're all thanking each other, but they're not saying what the announcement's going to be. You're like, oh, okay. And I think they just played Cry Out just before that. And then they played Be With You. And of course, Be With You, very emotional song. They play the song. It's lovely. And then when Be With You ends, they all just quietly put down their guitars, lights go down, and then they walk off stage. Usually the way that you would do with like the soft ending of the show, when you're doing that first ending, waiting for the audience to clap for the encore for you to come back. But what was interesting in this case is that literally as they were walking off the stage, almost in anticipation of the fact that people were going to clap and ask for them to come back on stage, you then just saw the curtain at the back open. And a video started playing. And it was interesting because there hadn't been, like, throughout the entire gig, there was no TRiDENT sign at the back. There was nothing on the back wall. It was literally just them performing. Nothing on the back wall. And in the back, as you could then see, curtain slid open. And they started playing this video. And it was a scrolling text going up. Very somber. It's going up. And as it went up, each little paragraph, like 3-line paragraph, you could hear the voice of one of the members reading, all pre-recorded, obviously. Each one of the members read one of the little paragraphs. And it was going to, again, like with the cartoons, talking about their times, talking about their history, talking about all the things they'd been through, talking about all of this in the past. And then just as it gets to the bottom, suddenly, and after like a month of waiting, after all this tension, just in the case of about like 30 seconds, just announcement diarrhea, just so much stuff just burst out onto the screen. It was like, we just got signed to a major record label. We've got a new EP called Blue Dawn. We've got the opening and closing theme tune for an anime. We've got a new tour coming up. We've got a fan club. It's like just all of this stuff is being thrown at the screen. And yeah, it was absolutely freaking brilliant. Just, I loved, because you could tell that they were trying to build up this feeling of tension. And actually, funny thing is that as that announcement came up, that scroll text announcement, that was the bit where it was so on the nose. They were so clearly trying to play with your heartstrings that I was like, yeah, there is no way they're breaking up. This is way too on the nose. If they do this and then break up, then that's going to be way too melodramatic. So I was just at that second, I was thinking, yeah, no way. And then suddenly, like I say, all this information starts bursting onto the screen, telling us about all these awesome things that they're doing. And then, yeah, obviously this poster came out. As always, whenever there's a big TRiDENT announcement, on the way out of the gig, always make sure to go past the ticket desk, because they're always handing out posters of what the new announcement was. So, of course, I got that and then put it in one of the frames. And ironically, the one which was in this frame before was the Spice X one, when they announced Spice X at the end of the Dream Up tour. And that was announced in Zepp Shinjuku. And same thing, on the way out, I just went to where the ticket desk was, and I was like, yep, you got a bunch of posters, give me some of them. So they announced that. They also gave out a poster for the announcement of the OjiSan Festival. OjiSan Fest. It's, well, okay, they got a video for it. There you go, that's the OjiSan. They gave out this poster as well, which was a really cool one. And then they had the announcement for the fact they're doing the opening and closing theme tunes for this anime, which is brilliant. And I didn't even mention, as well as that, they played a brand new song as well, which we'll get into that in a minute. They played a brand new song as well. So oh yeah, here we can see. So they had Be With You after the emceeing bit, Cry Out, then emceeing where they actually cried. Then Be With You, then the movie played, and then we had this brilliant ending, and this was the new song that they played. And track 13, ironically, love that. And yeah, this is the screen as well. You can see this is where the major debut was announced. I love that, how it says major debut in the background. That's brilliant. Let's move that into its own little frame as well so we could look at that. But yeah, this whole thing was beautifully done, beautifully shown, and just the atmosphere was brilliant. And I think they knew that they built up attention so long that when they announced all this information, just the burst of excitement and throwing all that information at the screen at the same time, everyone went crazy. It was just, the feeling in the room. It was like a weight was lifted from the whole crowd and everyone was so happy. They even joked about it when they did eventually come back on stage, which they did almost immediately, having switched from their old black outfits, in which they've been wearing up until that point, into their new blue outfits. They came back on stage and they just immediately started riffing with the audience and making jokes about that. Obviously, the TRiDENT TRiBE official fan club. All of this was announced, and their affiliation with King Records. And so, you can see here, they went out in their black outfits before, the original black outfits they were wearing up until this point. And then when the show ended, they were in their new blue outfits, which I think are really lovely, actually. I've got to be honest, they're very similar in style, but the blue color, I'm assuming that we don't assume this now means that Nagisa owns the band. It's a little bit more colorful. It's a little bit more bright. The outfits are bored a little bit more idly, and I don't know, I think that's fine because their music speaks for itself. So having something bright and colorful, I think it actually goes very well with the whole TRiDENT ethos, because they're a bright, colorful band. They do heavy music, but they got these bright, colorful personas, which is so central to what they do. So all of that was great. And then, okay, like I say, they came out and they played this brand new song, and I'm gonna level with you. This new song, recency bias is a thing. I really like it though. It's not a twiddle heavy song. In fact, the very first verse, it comes with a heavy intro, and the first verse, it's quite sparse actually. The drums and the bass and the guitar immediately drop out, and you kind of get this spaced out sort of production thing, and Asaka's just kind of singing almost a cappella over that before the song drops back in. And in that moment, you could even hear Asaka was still getting used to the song because she was kind of like not quite her usual 100% pinpoint self. So, it was you could feel it was a new song, but not a lot of twiddle. But as it developed, it was just this gorgeous rock song with this incredible, when the core chord pattern and melody are really interesting and they develop and they flow really well and there's not too much repetition. It's just this beautifully coursing melody and chord pattern with great variations from the rhythm underneath the Nagisa was delivering. It was an example to me of what makes TRiDENT so good, in that it wasn't scared to have little production moments like I mentioned in that first verse where everything drops out except for the vocals and a little bit of soundscaping in the background. It wasn't afraid to do that. It had great melody. It had great rhythm changes. It didn't feel the need to show off for like big showy guitar solos or anything. It was just solid as hell music. And for me, recency bias is always the thing. Obviously, it was a live performance, so there's going to be a lot of nuances in the recording we are yet to hear. But I am really excited to check out that new song because I think it's definitely at the moment, and of course we were all pumped up with a positive feeling anyway. It's definitely going to be one of those songs where I think that a lot of people are going to really... It's going to be a lot of people's, in a lot of people's top 10s, I think. Definitely, I think for me, I already get the feeling it's going to be shooting for a top 5 spot for me already, I feel. So, but we'll see. I might be, recency bias might be a thing. Anyway, so that all happened. And then when the show ended, it ended on really great feeling. Everyone was feeling good. It was super positive. And then we had the meet and greet. And let's get straight to it. Everyone knows the TRiDENT pose. I would like to introduce my version, which I think I'm going to have to call the Neil deGrasse TRiDENT. Oh yes, it's the Neil deGrasse TRiDENT. I was super happy with this. Now, obviously, I would venture a guess. Tell me if you think I'm wrong. I don't think there's another YouTuber anywhere online who does more TRiDENT videos than me. I think I am the #1 TRiDENT YouTuber, hands down. I would like to see if you can find anyone who's done more TRiDENT videos than me. Of course, over my several channels, but I think I do more TRiDENT videos than anyone else. So I have no idea if they recognize me, but when I came around the corner and said hello, I did notice a bit of reaction, and that could just be the standard thing, but I just sort of quickly said hello, just quickly said who I was, sat down. It was quite quick because there was about I think it's about 500 capacity venue, clearly sold out. As mentioned, the merch table was around, well, the merch sales before the event were around the block. So I think almost everyone, at least 300 people, had the meet and greet tickets. And so if you think about that, if each person took 1 minute, that would be 5 hours. And they wanted to get everyone through in the case of about 1 hour. So as you can imagine, each person really had about 15 seconds to sit down, have the picture and done and get out. And, you know, I had done the maths in my head before this, so I wasn't expecting anything different. But yeah, so I literally got the time it took me to walk around the corner, walk up to them, sit down, just introduce myself, say who I was, hello, sit down in my chair, have the photograph taken, and then get up and say goodbye and everything. So I don't know, but I hope they see this. I hope they recognize me. I'm hoping they did recognize me before I came to sit down, but it seemed from their response they did. But yeah, this for me, absolutely priceless moment. I have got the checky. I need to keep that checky super safe. Ace with the merch. And you know, it was just for me an absolutely wonderful experience. If you're wondering where my wristband was in that picture, basically because I knew it was going to be a fairly full-on gig, I'd actually put it in a coin locker before I went in because I was worried about it getting broken. So there was but if I had walked around the corner, it'd be interesting if I'd walked around the corner with just the Nagisa one on. I wonder what response that would have got. But anyway, that was all fantastic. That was super. So let's go into and then I spent some time hanging out with some other TRiDENT fans and people who I've met at the gig. It was, like I say, absolutely brilliant. Let's spend a second, though, talking about the announcements and just talking about the stuff they posted online afterwards. Because as you see, I'm showing you some of the clips here from one of the posts. And this was kind of interesting because, well, if we do actually open up the picture, you can just about see my face up there. There I am. You can just about see me there. And I also appeared in a couple of the other things that were posted later. But there was a lot of stuff obviously posted online after this. And, you know, TRiDENT obviously then started putting out all the news. They put out this video, which I thought was really lovely. And this kind of showed them building up to it. And again, you can see so that's the line I was talking about. This was, okay, so this was earlier in the day when they were doing the merch and they were getting us to stand two at a time. Can't quite see myself there, but I'm sure I was in that line. I don't know whether I was at the front at that point or not, but yeah, that merch line went round the block. People standing 2 by 2 all the way down there. Then obviously you got them prepping for the show, going out in the black outfits. That was brilliant. Loved that backstage. This is the whole crowd atmosphere was brilliant. Again, you know, just you can see how fun it was. You can see how everyone was sort of like pushed up against the front barrier, how everyone was just sort of dancing and moving around, and this sort of party atmosphere that you always get. Then you had the big announcement, then they come out in the blue outfits, which was brilliant. You know, everyone's seeing that. And you can see these are the moments when they were like sort of really taking it in and having their little... and yeah, so I see you could see some of the people... You had some good crowd surfers like these guys who were just up there, just having fun and just sort of pointing to the group. You did have, I mean, like I say, the ones who were more annoying is I had like, for example, there was one guy who wanted to crowd surf and he thought the way to do that was to put his hand on the back of my neck and just start pushing down on my neck. And so I literally had to throw him off, like, get the fuck off. So, you know, you did have some dicks, but as a general, most of the people there were absolutely superb. And then there's one shot towards the end where I did notice this in the video and I go see if I can spot this. So at the end of there we go. You can just about see my face in there again. There I am. I'm all lit up. My little face at the back with the spotlight seemed to be right on my big mug. But yeah, like that's when they did the photographs and that was about, 4 rows back. It was an absolutely brilliant experience. So let's have a look at the things they announced because there were so many of them. First of all, we had obviously the anime tie-in. Now this is cool because this is like something that comes very much with being part of a major label. You get the anime tie-ins. It's part of being in Japan. And we've noticed more and more that we're getting more and more of these rock bands doing anime tie-ins, and it's absolutely brilliant. I think it's a really cool thing to see. In the case of this particular one, I don't know anything about this anime, but it's kind of a cheerful looking anime. And again, I'm actually more than okay with that because, as I said when I was talking about the outfits earlier, for me, TRiDENT is a band who, they rock, and that's not in question, but there's a sort of sense of joy. I mean, that's one of the reasons why this is the Trident shirt that I bought, because it's kind of like it conveys that sort of sense of playful joy that I think sets Trident apart from a lot of the sort of more dark and old school rock kind of bands. I like that kind of playful fun that comes with Trident that makes them kind of more of a breath of fresh air. So I see something like this, and I don't know anything about this anime. It's like someone's potion, something about a potion. Oh, potion, waga mi wo. I can't even read that. Taskeru. So something about helping with my potion. It's just kind of got a sense of joy to it, which I think I'm kind of happy. Yeah, if that's what Trident's going to be tied to, I'd much rather that than something deep and depressing. And then, of course, they came out with they filmed a little video for their OjiSan, which is their older fans only show. And the fact that it basically looks like some kind of Yakuza mob film, I don't know what to do with that. But it plays out thus. Very sort of dark, very serious. There's her dog. And then by the end of it, everyone's just dancing. You should definitely check out that video if you haven't already. But so much fun on that one. They announced that. So of course, Trident have always done these gigs where it's been, part of the gigs is for over 35, and then they have one gig for over 35s, and then one gig for under 35s. This is something they do annually just to sort of like have a bit of fun with their individual age groups of fans, because their fan base is such a wide age group. I think this is true, actually. I think more than most bands that I'm used to seeing, like Trident's fan base age group is really spread out. You get like some really young people there as well. They announced the fan club. I've got to be honest, the fan club's an interesting one for me, because when it comes to fan clubs, now I've never been a member of a fan club myself, and if I was going to be a member of any fan club, it'd probably be this one. But the thing is that, like I say, I'm not exactly rolling in money, and paying for a membership of something monthly makes sense if you know what you're going to get. I've got to be honest, I'm as of yet not 100% sure what perks they're offering. My only concern is that we're already seeing things like they've got upcoming gigs on this tour where they're lottery based, and the lottery is fan club members first. We've got things like this section where it's photos and it's members only first. I don't mind with things like the photo section, but I am kind of worried about, because I can't afford to pay for like a monthly fan club. It does concern me a little bit, because I kind of think to myself, when you have artists like this, if their gigs start becoming priority for fans, or if, like, for example, the show that we went to, the Continue show, I can imagine in the future other shows like that might only be accessible to fans, because it might sell out completely from the fan club members. And then that's going to like leave people like me in a difficult position. I like to just, if you're doing something and I can afford it, I want to buy it. But like paying for a fan club just to be in with a chance, that kind of worries me a bit. So ultimately, though, it's good business. They got to do business, and Trident have always been really good with their fans. Their merchandise has always been reasonably priced. I mean, look, just being serious, this shirt cost me 3,000 yen. They've had other shirts, 3,000, 3,500. These wristbands cost me 500 yen. Now, I'm not going to name any names, but we all know bands where this would be 6,000 yen. We all know bands where these would be 1,500 each. We all know that. So Trident have always been super reasonable with their prices. So I wouldn't complain about that. But yeah, I got to be honest, because I don't know if I can really afford to be a member of a fan club. That does worry me a little bit. So I want to be excited, but in a way, the fan club has me a little bit worried. But yeah, I was really excited to see their whole tour schedule lined up. Hell, let's just bring the tour schedule over, shall we? I mean, if you're looking at the gigs they're doing, there's a lot of them. Do you know, I am doing this, and as fun as this is, I think it would just make more sense to show you on Twitter, wouldn't it? Let's just show it on Twitter where it's where I don't have to worry about focus and stuff. Where is it gone? I don't edit any of my videos. You can tell that, can't you? So if we look here, it's a really cool. Of course, it is domestic. But we got things like, oh crikey, that's not quite. Anyway, you can see it. So we got like gigs all over Japan, Osaka, and then back round to Tokyo and other places. They're doing the full set all the way up till New Year, which is brilliant. And then, of course, they got the tour final is going to be 21st of January at Tokyo WWWX, which is the one in Shibuya. That's a great little venue. And ironically, that venue, again, is quite a small one. It's not a very big venue. So I'm interested that they're doing their tour final there. But yeah, so we've got all these kind of cool announcements and things coming in regards to the tour, which I'm really excited about. But then furthermore, looking at their website as well as the tour, obviously, Serena's radio show, we've got the fan club, we've got the anime, we've mentioned all these things. But the big one, the one that I really kind of want to go around to is that double hitter, King Records and the new EP. This is what I'm really excited about. So King Records, they've obviously shown the TRiDENT announcement. They've talked about sort of bringing TRiDENT on, about sort of introducing them. Now, King Records is not a record company that I think everyone watching this video is going to be familiar with already. There's the teary moments. You're not all going to be familiar with King Records already, I'm imagining, but they are a group who've definitely got a lot of presence in Japan. You know, there's a lot of bands on King Records. Now, I'm not going to say that, if I'm honest, most of the bands who I know, I'm not sure I know many of my favorite bands are on King Records, but I would say they're a name that is big enough that when I saw King Records come up on the screen, I was like, oh wait, I know that one. So it wasn't like just some random pokey company that no one's heard of. It was actually, yeah, it's actually a big company. Now, they're not a company that I'm aware of being massively connected to bands touring overseas. So anyone who's like suddenly waiting for TRiDENT to now appear overseas, I'm not sure that's necessarily going to happen, but you never know. This is a band who've got growth potential, and I do believe that, you know, if their growth is there and if they're taking off as much as I feel deserve, and my bias says they should, then you never know. We could suddenly see them appearing in other countries. And boy, oh boy, that would be amazing if that did suddenly happen. But this is a lot of stuff that is yet to happen. Still, I am just very happy to hear that they are doing this at all, that they're signing up to a big label. And it's also interesting because I feel like when I've talked to people about TRiDENT before, there's a lot of people who almost didn't realize that TRiDENT was an independent band. So yeah, TRiDENT has been independent. I think they've done so well and achieved so much that people just didn't think that. Obviously, they did a lot of tie-ins. If you've ever seen things like Bite the Bullet and Versus, you'll know they had tie-ins with like sort of video game events and stuff like that. So they had their connections and they used their connections well, like a record company would. But it's not the same as having record company backing. It's not quite as powerful as having record company connections. So TRiDENT were achieving a lot for an independent band, but independent is what they were. So for me, the whole, oh, I accidentally moved that. Oh, sorry. The browser's gone a little bit weird and just sort of removed that window. Thanks, browser. So, you know, the whole thing about them, you know, signing up to King Records, I do think it is going to make a huge difference. I really do. And of course, this brings us on to their new EP, which is called Blue Dawn. Now, I'm not sure if I can get information on Blue Dawn here. Can we? Is it going to say anything on the discography? I was hoping that King Records would show me, but no, it's not. Okay, it's not on the discography yet. We're still, Dux is still the last one. Okay. But when it comes to the new EP, now, I don't know how long the EP is going to be. Obviously, TRiDENT have had history of doing like 5-track EPs. I'll take a 5-track EP. I'll take any new music, but I kind of just want to hear as much as possible from them. I'm excited. I want to hear this new era. They are still, they did point out, they are still working with the same people. They were talking about the people who are involved in arrangements, and obviously they're still writing their own stuff, but they were talking about arrangements and production, and it does seem they're staying solid with their core team of people. So I don't think we're going to lose any of TRiDENT's identity. I think TRiDENT are just going to get that influx of cash. And I think also it's worth saying, a lot like when, like you take like Bandmate, when they signed to Pony Canyon. Pony Canyon's a record company I've got a lot of respect for various reasons. And yeah, I've had my connections with them in the past. And some record companies, especially these days, have learned the importance of looking at bands who've either gained success online or independent success, and knowing that all you have to do is really fund them. Don't mess with the formula. I think a lot of record companies have learned that now. And that's why we're seeing bands being more just encouraged to, well, hey, whatever you're doing, we'll fund you, do more of the same. And that's where I feel like this connection between My feeling that the connection between King Records and TRiDENT is going to aim more in that direction. I feel like we're going to see them properly funded and sent out into the world to do what they've always done, but just with that extra support, that extra feeling that all of the worries that they talked about in those cartoons, in the cartoons that ASSUN had drawn, all of those worries are going to be slightly less of a concern now because they're going to have the backing. They're not going to be so much out on their own. They're going to have the reassurance of a record label behind them. For better or for worse, I think it's a good thing to have that financial safety net. So I do think this is going to be a huge encouragement for them. I feel like a lot of the wounds that the band, or at least that Asaka and Serena may have felt when they transitioned into being TRiDENT, a lot of the potential setbacks that they may have felt were brought to their door by that. I feel like a lot of those wounds and setbacks will have felt healed by this. Anyone who's ever seen the videos of their first ever one-man show as TRiDENT, you can see there's like a certain pain on Asaka's face when she's talking about this. And I feel like a lot of the struggles and pains that the band has been through, even right down to having to get through COVID when they first founded, and their doubts about whether they wanted to continue. I feel like this puts a lot of that to rest. I feel like this is the kind of you know what? You went through that first phase, then you became TRiDENT, you went through the difficult phase, and in the difficult phase is where they found themselves, where they became who they were going to be. They fought harder to achieve so much, and they came out the other side as who they are now, with the affirmation, for what it's worth, of a record company, a major record company, with the immediate it's not even like one of those sort of muted signings where they're just like, oh, well, we'll just put our name on your stuff for a little while. It's like, no, they've immediately been launched off on tour. They've been given an immediate. They've obviously been in the studio already to record this record because it's coming out. It's not very long from now. We got like a couple of months till it comes out. They've been sent to do that. They've been given the anime tie-in straight away. It's like, this is clearly something where the record company's like, nah, we're going to do this properly. We're going to launch you out into the world and we're going to see what happens. And I think it's brilliant. I just think it's absolutely brilliant news for TRiDENT. I think the announcement was handled in a fun, playful way that ended up being a lot of fun for everyone. I think I had a memory that I will never forget. And honestly, I expect us to see a lot more wonderful things from TRiDENT on King Records moving forwards. I'd love to know what you guys think about all these developments. As I say, the only one that gives me certain trepidation is the fan club thing. As much as I do think that's basically a really good thing in the wider perspective, it worries me from the perspective of being someone like me who doesn't quite have the funding to pay for something regularly like that. So I'd love to know what you thought about the announcements, which things you liked, which things were you're most excited about. How you feel about the new record, how you feel about them being on a record label, even how you feel about the new outfits. Obviously, if you want to talk about this, get in the comments. If you want to talk even more, like I say, the TRiDENT Discord is linked down below, so please do go follow that as well. I'm personally just over the moon. I'm really over the moon. I've been following these girls since the years before they were actually TRiDENT. And I remember saying at the time when I was following them back then that it felt like some really great ideas, but it was like, it just didn't feel like it quite gelled. And then it was all the good stuff was there, but it wasn't quite clicking. And then when they debuted as TRiDENT, I went to check it out and I was like, yeah, this suddenly feels it clicked. And the funny thing is, at the time, I didn't know what had happened. So I was just like, yeah, it just suddenly clicks now. And as I followed them, just as they got better and better, I was like, this is a band who feels like they're getting in more and more and more. And then by the time we started getting towards the slew of 3 EPs that led to the most recent album, DX. So basically when Ducks was the album. When DX first came out, naming is not their strong point. When DX first came out, I remember thinking, yeah, this is it. They've gone from being a band who have been getting it together. That first album for me felt like an album of really strong ideas, but still finding their own identity. And then DX came out. I was like, yeah, this is really tight. Dream Up came out. I was like, this is spectacular. Then we had Spice X came out, which just continued that run of form. And then, you know, whatever anyone thinks about Ducks as an album made of mostly 3 mini albums, in my end of year awards, I do it every year. I do on my other main channel, Bucker Broadcast. I basically said, yeah, Ducks was the best release of the entire year, which a lot of people got angry at me for saying that. But as far as I'm concerned, it was. It's like, this is a band who've been growing so much over time, and they've hit this place where they are just incredible. Like, everything they release is brilliant. The whole panache, persona, the whole way they do it is absolutely superb. Their chemistry as a band is fantastic, and they fought to beef here. You know, it has not been an easy road. They've been through at least 4 things that other bands would have broken up over. And they've got through all of that, and here they are. And they're reaping the rewards for what they've done, and they're maintaining their personality moving forwards. And yeah, like I said, I'm just so happy to see this. So, as I tell me your thoughts, tell me your comments, get in the comments of this video, get in the TRiDENT Discord. Remember, I've got my own Discord that's been going for even longer. That's been going for friggin' years. In fact, my Discord's been going longer than TRiDENT. So you can join my Discord as well if you want to talk about other Japanese music and, you know, all kinds of different genres and everything. Please get in all of that. Just enjoy the conversation. Especially, do you know what? Actually, in my Discord's been going for so many years now. I want to bring in a little bit of new blood as well, just because, like, occasionally we just want to bring in some new blood, just to sort of vary it up, because we all know each other so well. And we get, like, sort of maybe to, like, 2 or 3 new people every year who end up becoming, like, regulars. So, hey, if you're a TRiDENT fan, you're definitely going to be friends with me. Please do remember to join the TRiDENT Discord, but also join my Discord as well. I'd love to see you over there. And it'd be just great to speak to new people anyway. So anyway, there you go. Thank you so much. Looking forward to seeing you joining any of those communities and all those communities. Looking forward to seeing the comments. I hope you've enjoyed all this news. I hope you enjoyed my waffle. Hope you enjoyed the story. And until I hopefully see you very soon in Japan for the next one of these videos. For now, ciao, ciao.